And this, as you can see, would traditionally be a Rwandan court. Of course, not every home were Christian, but back home, you know, they would have the huts and, you know, a courtyard where people would come. And the king, as you can see there with his staff wearing white, would generally sit back, talk to his queen, who you can see with the veil in front of her. And the thing about the queen was she was always the most beautiful woman in the land. And only the king could see her, that's why she was wearing the veil. And the king's specter, as you can see, was his right to rule. And of course you'd have servants and ladies at court, as you can see, the two little girls there, and the family. So it was a lot, you know, I like to draw those contrasts, those comparisons between, you know, Western civilization and what was going on in Africa. After all, I'm a history major. And the king would have his guards, as you can see. There were the warriors. They too would wear the mane and would have the bamboo protecting the king in order, you know, against all enemies of his court. And at festivals such as this, of course, the king would, you know, welcome all sorts of people, as I mentioned, but he would always, above anybody else, call his advisor. And his advisor, we call him Abidu. You guys want to try that? Abidu.
Abidu.
And Abidu were his advisors who he'd listen to, who he'd ask for just advice whenever he was troubled about something or was otherwise unaware of something. And they would come, of course, with great deference before the king. And take their place beside the king. The king always had their ear and, you know, their advice, and they would sit and talk to the king whenever he would require any aid and help.
And then there were the prince and princess, and they were lovely, they were young, and of course the king and the queen loved them. They embodied the future of the country. Aren't they precious? And they had someone to help them and take care of them because they were highly important. And there she greets her mother, and he greets his father. And that was the family. And then you had the dancers. The dancers were there to entertain the king and the queen. They filled the room with laughter, with joy, and it was never boring because every day was a party. Seriously. Yeah. So as you can see, the room was always filled with laughter. The king and the queen just loved the dancing, and it entertained not only the king and the queen, but the advisors as well, and everyone in the room.
And the show would keep going. The king, you know, he liked to get his full countrymen to come and perform for him. And then again, as I mentioned, when the country was at peace, he would have his soldiers, you know, sort of like a military parade, but he'd have his soldiers, his ingabo, as we call them, who would come and perform and show their tactics. The warriors, you know, would perform and give a bit of what they had and what greatness they had.
Always displayed their masculinity in the room, and the king was very impressed with that his warriors were always fit in shape. And then there were the people that came from all walks of life, all economic statuses, and they came from all parts of the country, and they came bearing gifts to give to their king and their queen. And the two little girls would accept the gifts into the royal courthouse. The people comes from the word turete, meaning people of the city, and although they came from all walks of life, they were there to say hi to the king and feast with him and be merry. So they would pay homage to their king.
But our king would not just welcome into his presence his people, but also those of other lands. He would welcome foreigners from west and east Africa, from the north to the south, welcoming them, showing his gratitude for the people, living courageously and together with all peoples. People from Kenya, like the Maasai, would come. And they too would come bearing gifts and come showing their gratitude to the king and the great relations that Rwanda had with our neighbors. You have those from the west of Africa who too would come bearing gifts and their unique style of greetings.
That was Rwanda, way back in history.
And as the night progressed and the festivities were over, the king would rise with his advisors and his wife and leave the court when he chose to. This was usual of ceremonies. He would thank his advisors go with his wife and his guards.